at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every day. Well, this week at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Next week we'll be changing the time up to 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 Pacific. But every day for about an hour or so. We'll do 3 different topics each day, different topics throughout the week on gun-related subjects. Let's see, we run it live on YouTube and simulcast it over at gunchannels.com, where we're watching the live chats over at Gun Channels and at YouTube. When it's all over, we'll let it render into a video and take the audio from that, run it as a podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio. So we encourage everybody that's listening to the show now and in the future to leave us some feedback so that we know you're out there, we know who's listening and where. Also, it'll help get the show recommended to more listeners, and that's always a goal. So we do appreciate that favor. We've got hosts. Many of us are here today. We got Dano jumping in from Illinois. Thanks for joining.
Glad to be here from the frozen northern state.
The most northern of our hosts right now. Then we got Z jumping in from the island of Maui. Thanks for joining.
Low, ha, ha.
Oh, we fell down a hole. And then I'm down here in Arizona. So today is episode number 239. We're going to be talking about gun stuff. Our new topic on Thursdays, we're talking about training for shotgun sports specifically, and then shooting events that are coming up. Of course, every day we have our gun shows and our gun shop of the day and gun of the day and all that kind of stuff. So before we get into it, though, we usually take a break at the beginning of the show to see if anything happened overnight. It's worth talking about.
Overnight, not so much, other than I should have shared a few more of the links. We in Hawaii have a couple of anti-gun things getting ready to go to committee. So I believe on the Hawaii gun laws page and maybe on the front page, I believe I shared some of the links, and it's pretty much, it's also the take action links through the NRA ILA. So literally you can just basically click the button, put your name down, it'll go to the concerned parties. We definitely need to do this. I don't really honestly know how many listeners we have in the state of Hawaii other than myself and perhaps Hawaii Volcano Squad. But if anybody does have the time, the earlier today that we do this, the better it may be.
And you never know how many people that are listening know people that live in Hawaii and might be able to take action via email or some kind of urging.
Yep.
And I can't help but resist or not resist looking at the calendar and saying today is the 2nd, and every second matters. And thanks, Smeggy, out there. I give you credit for reminding me to look. So thank you.
All right, so we had Matt's show last night. It was a ripoff. And then
oh man, my jokes don't work when.
I actually thought at least the main topic of the show was pretty good. Five guns that you would kind of say don't buy to depend your life on.
Yeah, it was a bad topic, and
It wasn't even defend your life on. It was just guns that you wouldn't recommend to somebody.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I was reading into the question.
you know, that's the problem when you have a poor subject and poorly executed. There has to be.
And I only caught the end of the chat. I thought it was legit, but I also know that there are differing opinions.
There's got to be that
sure.
show so that the other shows stand out. So that's looking at the silver lining on that.
But I got
then
there's somebody at the tip of Texas giving somebody else the finger right now.
Well, and then of course I don't know that he necessarily solved the answer of the one for Monday, whether anime was or was not to be included in the top 10 animated films.
Yeah, he said all animated.
All right, cool. Because I was like, how can you say that that's not animated? But anyway, cool. I think that's going to be a tough one too.
Right,
but I missed the whole first part of the chat, dude. And he almost went 3 hours again. He went 2 something, didn't he? Nice.
And also, for those that listen to Matt as well as us, he made an announcement last night that starting next week, I believe it is, he's going to be backing up his show starting time by 30 minutes. So if I have that correct, he'll be starting 30 minutes earlier than normal next week. And of course, our new hours.
I don't know how going forward 30 minutes is backing off at all, but yeah, he's going to be earlier next week.
Well, yeah, he's starting earlier. Well, he's backing up the time. Anyway, and as well as a reminder of the Daily Gun Show, our new hours for next week will be starting at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific time, starting next Monday.
That's true. Okay, so I'm guessing at that point we should dig into the show. Later on, we'll have to. I'm going to go riot at least. I don't know about you guys, but that's not my groundhog.
Well, you know, I was hesitant whether to bring that up or not.
If he sees a shadow, do we have 4 more years of anti-Second Amendment establishment? Or if he doesn't see a shadow, we get that? Or is that not how Punxsutawney Phil works?
Hashtag not my groundhog.
Nice.
Actually,
I voted for the woodchuck.
I thought you were going to refer to last night's activities, but...
Are we talking about the van chat? So we had van chat number 15 last night also after Matt's chat. Yeah, everybody had a bad taste in their mouth and it was just really discouraging. So in order to, you know, make the internet a more pleasant place for the evening, we did a van chat. And I'm basically at a point where I've acquired the funds, sold enough stuff, borrowed enough money, begged money off of people to basically buy the engine and then starting to figure out what else I can sell to get the labor or whatever, and then the transmission. So as I start having accumulated any pile of money, I start to look at what other vans are available, and there are 4, 5, 6 really nice vans out there at a school here in Arizona. So we did a van chat, looked at a couple of them. The help of everybody that was in there, basically put a deposit down on one of them or put a bid down on one of them, and hopefully in a couple of weeks or so here, I'll have a new van and be able to get this show literally on the road the way it was designed. It's basically the same van, just 10 years newer with just ridiculously low mileage. So I'm anticipating that means plug and play. Buy the thing, move over some of the electronic stuff for the computer from the old van and literally be on the road in no time. So hopefully everybody will send me whatever positive vibes to keep other people from bidding on that van, and I can acquire it, and we'll continue on with the Gun Show Loophole Tour.
Now, I'm saying this, you know, with a smile on my face, but so sometimes when it comes to the van, I get the feeling that you're like a kid in a gun store. You're like, ooh, look at the shiny new gun behind the cabinet.
Well, I hear you, and as much as I don't have,
but I understand it as well.
So it's really just a Tetris game, trying to, you know, with the resources I have available, try to get a platform that can get this show literally on the road, and then accomplish the things that I wanted the van for, which is basically not having to pay for lodging of me and the dog, and basically the van that I have now proved that. I think that that is a viable option. It just wasn't capable. You know, the machine itself was lacking. So, like I say, it's a certain amount of funds to get that machine back to working order. This new one seems like just a more efficient use of the funds. It's going to put it into the same amount of funds into a platform that is better for the most part overall. The only real disadvantage I see to this new one is it's got a lot of windows, and I do like the lack of windows in the current van. But this one is 10 years newer, much nicer, and because of the mileage and the pictures and stuff, I mean, it basically looks like it came off the showroom 20-something years ago, 21 years ago. Anyhow, so that was last night also.
Which will bring us into today. I didn't get a chance to hear Jimmy's show. Did he get to have one today?
I was on earlier. I didn't see anybody talking about an early show. Maybe there wasn't an early show today.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
hopefully one of our listeners out there will comment if the early show is on, and if so, was Jimmy back or not?
All right, so then we'll dig into the actual subject of the show today, starting off with guns in everyday life. It's kind of a broad one. Where are we taking this one?
Like driving a truck down an aircraft carrier or something. I don't know, man. Like, what do you mean guns in everyday life?
Well, guns are a pretty big part of our life. I don't know. We could probably start with lots of different ways, either how they affect the stuff that we have today. I like to think that they're integral to that because of the whole interchangeable parts thing and becoming an industrialized nation. In a lot of ways, we have, as a result of that innovation in firearms. But we could talk about how they are a part of our jargon and our vernacular, our use in our language, and literally how, I mean, among other things, it's one of the things that forms our language, really. I would say there's enough gun-related stuff and firearms-related stuff in our language that's part of it.
Locked and loaded. Loaded for bear.
Right on target with that.
Right on target.
We could talk about them in movies and TV and in reference in cartoons and other, media entertainment type of stuff that we see, even in commercials and stuff. I mean, guns have a role, and either they're just sitting in the corner can signify that the person's a hunter. Different kind of gun sitting in a different kind of corner can signify something else, connotation or whatever. I mean, there's lots of ways we could approach it, I think.
Yeah.
Well, whether we consider them keeping people safe on a daily basis, whether that's through a federal agency, a local municipal agency, and or a concealed carrier, let alone somebody's home defense.
Being in a culture that has guns in the hands of everyone creates a safe society that we all prosper in, and they definitely want us to ignore that. So definitely the everyday life that we have is a direct result of the guns that provide it for us, right?
Yep. Oh, nice. And another one Grand added was shoot your mouth off. Smeggy, of course, added hit or miss. I definitely like that part. Like you said, it is a part of us as the history of these United States of America. We were born by the gun.
You've heard the phrase "put the hammer down."
Usually, drop the hammer
to like an automobile or some sort of truck, putting the throttle down. But obviously, it's a takeoff of "put the hammer down" on a gun. I mean, it's used. There are analogous words used throughout our American culture, is what I'll call it, because it's not an English culture. It's an American culture.
Well, Dano, don't go off half-cocked.
Exactly. And it's throughout our culture and society. And I would say that I'm amazed sometimes how many times I may hear somebody who's not necessarily pro-gun use some of those words in regards to other things, and they don't even realize they're doing it.
You mean when those words trigger them?
Exactly. Like as an example.
You mean they get blown away?
Keep your goals in sight. Don't lose track of your target. Meaning your goals. I mean, they use phrases like that interchangeably to talk about all sorts of other things.
It's true. And I think that one of the goals of our show here, the Daily Show, is to inspire and encourage people to create their own content. So that's something that, imagine if people did that once a month, did some sort of a focus on just either any of the things we touched on, any of the ways that guns impact society or are part of our culture. And we just look at that, reflect on it, acknowledge it once in a while. Those things start to float around and accumulate. And somebody who's anti is talking about being triggered and going off at the this or that or son of a this or that. And then they start realizing how much of their culture they're taking for granted that they don't know about. At least it's harder for them to live in a vacuum when you put content out there that's digestible and consumable.
And one of the things that I'd have to say more you, G. You've definitely commented in the past more than one time that basically the more common usage or familiarity that the general public does end up having with firearms in a positive manner, the more it will have a tendency to become second nature, and people won't even, it will no longer be an issue about guns in everyday life because it'll be a commonplace. And I know that's something that you've definitely brought up more than one time in all the chats that either I've ever been in or the one, the millions more that you've been in.
Yeah, I think
definitely
a deliberate effort to remove firearms from just casual conversation in society and whatever. And yeah, you don't defeat that campaign by ignoring it or complying with it.
Yeah, we got a couple more. We got pull the trigger. We definitely got keep your powder dry. Shooting fish in a barrel. Give them both barrels. So that's definitely, it's clearly a part of us, so to speak.
So Moon Food is being defeated and saying the robots will kill us off soon. I don't know where that.
Well, I guess it's a possibility.
They like to think so, and it's probably. I think there's probably some discussion to be had on whether or not it's worth. I think it potentially could be worth letting it be out there as an option for the robots, so that they have something to shoot for. But yeah, it's not really a reality.
I mean, I just want to believe that we can all get along, robot and human, just as long as they keep doing all the work for us. Flash in the pan. Good job, Moon.
Yeah. All the sports analogies. He jumps, he shoots, he scores. I mean,
you're reaching.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. All of those are.
It's a basketball analogy.
Yeah, but
that's because he's shooting a basket.
Basketball.
Yeah, shooting. Once again, shooting. He's not throwing the ball, he's shooting the ball.
All right.
All right. But apparently some of us got phone calls to get to, so we'll do that.
Well, we're talking about, again, guns in everyday life. We've started to talk about some of the tourist destinations. What?
I'm sorry, we're going to have to end the show. I just got approved for some fast funding.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, then this has been the Daily Show, episode 239 for Thursday. We'd like to thank everybody for joining us today, and
we're going to go party.
I guess it's all over but the crying.
All right. So I don't know if we were still in that topic or if we were.
I was just going to add that, we now have theme parks. We have destination travel sites for gun usage and stuff like that. So
Moon has corrected me correctly and says it's shoot a basket. Also flash hand.
Yep, said that one.
Is that me cracking up?
Not easy.
Check. Is this thing not working?
You got like a scratching wire noise type of thing more than anything, I think.
Great.
A bad plug, maybe. It's more of a machine, or what do they call that kind of noise?
Your voice is easy to hear and understand. That just a supplementary noise.
Yeah, it's in the wire. All right, so I think though the point of these segments of the show are to get people talking about stuff in the later chats that'll happen over at Gun Channels throughout the evening, or if you're creating content of your own, to give you some ideas, and feel free to think about guns in everyday life. I think it's one we should hit on again in the future too, since it is so broad. I think it's worth dabbing the paintbrush in that every once in a while.
Absolutely. And before we continue, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank all of our existing Patreon supporters. And if anyone out there is considering becoming a Patreon supporter, when you go over to Patreon, simply go in the search box, put in Daily Gun Show, enter, and it'll take you directly to our page where then you can fill out the information to become a supporter and take part in our Patreon-only shows that we do.
Yeah, and we do appreciate the support over there. Has become the way that the show is supported. So thanks to the people that participate over there, and we'll continue to explore ways to include you in special content and stuff to show our appreciation for that. All right, so then we'll dig into the training segment of the show we do on Thursdays. Today we're going to be talking about how does one train for shotgun sports. But before we do, we'd like to feature one of the members over at Gun Channels every day between the first and second segment. Gun Channels is a place we built a while back. It's a community. It's just some social media or social platforms, social media. Well, I guess you'd call it social media. It's social platform software that we wrapped up with the firearms theme. We own it. We run it. And we're shooters, so it's built 100% for shooters. You can do pretty much anything you want over there. Don't have to worry about anything being shut down. It's supported by its membership, so there are no real ads or anything. There's no one to offend when you have your conversations and whatnot over there. And because it's made up of members, we like to feature one every day. And today we're featuring one from the past. I don't remember what we were talking about the other day, but his name came up, so we're talking about Cork. And back in the days of YouTube when we were all just having conversations in the comment sections there, and everybody was kind of, I think, participating to more extent than now as far as creating videos. Or maybe I was just paying more attention, but it seemed like more people were creating just little videos to respond to something or to show an example or to post a reply. And Cork was one to make videos like that, but also, I guess, just to create a channel. And he did all kinds of stuff like chopping things up with his knives and swords, I guess, and melting things with his crazy
Frenzel lens.
Yeah, his giant Frenzel lens off of a TV, and did some pretty neat stuff, melting a penny and whatnot. I thought that was pretty cool, considering he's in Wisconsin. Anyway, he was also an active member of the chats and ran lobbies for a long time, and did his own show, I think, for a bit. And generally enjoyed the gun channels, I think, and definitely left his own juices all around and stains.
Hey,
I'm just saying, he's in our vernacular. Like you
can get corked.
Yep. So I don't think anybody will ever remember or forget Cork, and hopefully he's still kicking out there somewhere.
A nicer way to say it would be left his mark as opposed to like left juices or a stain. So let's just say Cork left a mark on gun channels.
Because it depends on your perspective.
Truly.
All right, so Dana doesn't have much to add to the olden days of Cork. I like that. So
I'm sorry, I was actually trying to search and find his YouTube channel. That was what I was off doing.
Mr. Cork 71.
Now,
Yes,
one
Mr.
way to
Cork
do
71.
that might be to check out his Gun Channels channel, because one of the things you can do when you're setting up your profile on Gun Channels is include like your social media links to other places. So a lot of times, if I'm looking for somebody's social media presence, I'll check out their Gun Channels profile first, in just in case they filled all that stuff out, because that makes it quick.
Yeah, it's all in one-stop shop, basically.
All right, so Dan will drop the link if he finds it, but it's Cork. It's Mr. Cork 71, and unique guy.
Yep,
and
I found it.
we're going to dig into training. So specifically, how does one train for shotgun sports? So what are the shotgun sports? Are we counting hunting, or are we just counting the?
Well, when I proposed the question, again, am I staticky or is it any better?
You're
Oh,
good.
you're fine now.
I mean, other than the bullshit I'm talking. Basically, in my mind, it was, skeet, clay, trap, and potentially 3-gun, for that one portion of the 3-gun. I didn't really think about hunting because technically your trap, your clay, and your, what was the other one? Skeet emulate whatever type of fowl that you would be shooting, whether it was upland fowl or waterfowl or what have you.
But here's those that I see.
Yeah.
You're right as far as what your technique and your skill set as a shooter, but the difference if you're count hunting is if you're walking or not. Because when you can be a big fat guy or a little skinny guy and little kid and shoot skeet and trap, great, because you're just standing there. But if you're gonna go out hunting and count that, then you got to add the ability to get out in the field.
There's another huge difference. Your prey may gore you, may bite you, may kill you,
Wait,
may
what?
give you a disease. I mean, when you're out there hunting,
What kind
unlike
of
all
ducks
those
you been
other
hunting,
things,
What
dude?
the hell kind of ducks and duck?
Pheasant and turkey and
when you gut that duck, it may have bacteria and parasites in it.
oh my
If you're
god.
not taking the proper precautions.
Anyway, we talked about that yesterday, if you remember.
Yes, we did. But this is appropriate to today's discussion.
So how
To
does
training, how does one train for shotgun
No.
sports? Because
No,
that's the question.
You asked what does it have to do with the topic?
Okay.
And I'm saying hunting has a lot to do with the topic, as it is the only part that's actually potentially dangerous to the participant, as compared to every other one that you mentioned.
I agree with you, and you're not gonna like very often twist your ankle and hurt yourself to such a way going to your trap stand or your skeet field, as opposed to just getting your ass out to a swampy area to shoot a bird and then twist an ankle out there or something, and that's something.
Yeah, but at the trap stand, you got more of a chance of being shot by somebody else.
Well, that's only if you're with a certain ex-president or ex-vice president.
No,
Hold on.
that's not
in the
true.
field, and people get shot bird shooting birds all the time. So
Yep.
I'm going to say if there's
Same
something
thing happens
a hunting
deer
accident,
hunting.
drone,
Get shot.
it's shotgun shooting.
Well, here's the deal, man. Some people hunt alone, right? Some people hunt in groups. But when you're shooting trap, skeet, or clays competition style, you always have more than one person shooting with you. Now, I would also have to say that the sport is pretty safe because you don't really hear about that happening on any type of regularity. So if we can, let's just come back to the actual subject of training, which is how does one train for shotgun sports? Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably upper body. So doing some kind of squats and lifts and weights with your shoulders and your arms and your ribs and that kind of thing, and your back.
Well, I guess I just need an answer for my own clarification, and maybe I'm just being thick. But how is hunting not the ultimate sport for shotguns?
I like that you think that you only might be thick.
Okay. Now that you're done with that, let's get to the meat of the answer. Actually try to answer the question.
Yes.
Hold on. So I don't think he said that hunting wasn't.
Right.
I don't think he ever said that.
Okay.
All right. So I just said, what are the shotgun sports, and said a bunch of them, and then I don't think.
And then we added hunting to it as well.
All right.
And
So
then we also added the ability to walk or hike. Is a way for training for the hunting portion of shotgun sports.
Because that's what I was going to say is if you're talking, at least out here in Arizona, if we want to go hunt birds, it's walking around for like the afternoon, days at a time sometimes, depending on how much you want to go shooting. So I guess there are some fat guys that'll just go out and sit next to some water, but that's pretty boring. You still got to walk out to the water, and there's not very much of it. So I find we always have better luck just walking between the different waters that are out in the desert, and little ponds or collections of pools of water, and that's pretty much just walking around all day. So how would you train? Just go out there and do that, and then you're also scouting. So it's super fun.
Okay, so that's how the hunting, you can train for the hunting portion. How do you improve your skill set for the other shotgun shooting sports?
Well, that's the thing, I guess. I'm not going to be good at this because I just do it. I don't ever practice or anything. I just go out and our skill set always seems to be adequate for being successful. So we don't, we're only shooting birds that are so far away from us. It's not like we have to hone our skills or anything.
Well, something that I've noticed at my outdoor ranges, whether it's shotgun season or something else, but just before, like a month before season or a couple of weeks before season, they're always out there verifying that they've retained zero, that their gun is in proper working condition and all that sort of thing.
I've never done that. Sometimes we'll shoot at something when we get out there. Like we'll shoot at a rock or something to make sure our gun isn't bent, but I don't even think we even do that anymore. We just start shooting birds. I guess you find out right away if you start missing birds, I guess.
And obviously the three of us have not competed in any of these shotgun sports.
Oh, heck no.
Nope.
No,
nope.
I tend to bring my 870 with its low 18.5-inch barrel to bother them because it really bothers shotgun people.
Because yes, they're all going to look at you like, what is that snubby little thing?
Now, I have a question on that on those security shotguns. What practically can you use them for in hunting?
You can still use it for all kinds of stuff.
I just took my 870 and chopped the barrel basically at about 18, 19 inches wherever when I put my arm down where my shotgun doesn't hit the ground. And then the gunsmith, a friend of mine, put a bead on there, and that's all I have ever used.
Okay, but as far as types of game,
hog, deer,
everything. For everything. Okay. With 18 inches is plenty of barrel for everything.
So it's really just distance,
right?
I mean,
and with hog,
I've never in like Kansas or something where maybe the birds are really far away from you or something. Maybe that would be a difference that I don't know about. But out here, the birds are up in the trees above you and they fly away from you. They're on the ground literally in front of you and they just fly away. So they're never as far as they are as when you're shooting trap.
Now, see, I'm going to kind of go along the lines of what Clay's thinking out there is that he feels that the other sports are solely for hunting training. And I would be inclined to agree with him on that because it is a simulation of hunting different types of game.
But I can guarantee you that I'm going to almost say a majority of the people that shoot them now never go hunting.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that at all. At all. Some of those people don't even step into the woods, dude. I definitely hear you on that. But I'm also saying that when the sports originated, it was pretty much probably during the off season from hunting, and it was a way to keep your skills maintained.
Well, to learn it, to keep your skills maintained, and then to have competitive challenges where you can actually have, consistent, so because you can't go hunt necessarily.
Right. But so to answer the actual question for training for the shotgun sports, we haven't really come up with anything other than walking. So we fall back on the like push-ups or something like that to be able to swing that barrel and drive that barrel. Are we talking about jumping jacks so that you can handle the adrenaline rush that when the Clay comes out of the trap house or something like that? Like honestly, like really try and bring it back for just a second and try and think of one thing that you can do to train for shotgun shooting sports. Now, other than the fact that Laser Light did come out with a shot pattern laser, center mass laser, so you technically could train in that manner, dry firing style with that laser from Laser Light.
Maybe in a classroom environment or something, but I don't see much use. I think just get out to the range and shoot one of the sports.
I'm trying to remember. Is that like a 9 laser dot sort of pattern?
Almost, yeah.
Well, it's got a diffraction grading or whatever, so it just splits the
splitter
beam. Yeah, so it just splits it into like
9 dots.
Oh shit, more than that though. I think way more than that. Maybe 18. A lot of them.
So you know what? I'm going to ask Gun Channels and or YouTube if there are any ways that you happen to be a shotgun sport person. If you happen to have anything that you do train or get ready to do so, please send us a line because clearly we don't have any ideas on the subject. So, so please, I'm interested to know because I think that I may be starting to shoot trap more often.
What we can do is take this subject and add it to next month as well. And then part of the goal of scheduling the show out like we're doing now ahead of time, like a month ahead of time, is one, to have some interaction with our Patreon supporters so that they can give their input to what we're going to talk about. But also once we have it scheduled out like this, our next challenge is to start bringing in guests and experts on the subjects so that we can add that dimension to it. So
unfortunately, Tom Knapp has passed away because that would be the guy that I would have a million questions for on the shotgun shooting sports.
But if any of our listeners has something they want to add to this conversation that we clearly did not hit because we're not necessarily one of our best areas of knowledge, please send your thoughts to dailygunshow@gmail.com and let us know whether it's getting ready for the sports, as Z had mentioned, or some other aspect of the shotgun sports that you think were not mentioned that definitely needs to be.
So Dog Body is saying chest presses and rows and some grip training would be good to build control. And then Carr saying cardio workouts. Tony's
Sounds
saying,
about right.
Tony's saying get one of those portable throwers, and he's got a place at his range. So yeah, if you've got, you don't even have to go to the thing, I suppose, depending on where you're at. You can just get one of those throwers. They work pretty good. And I've always just tied a rope to it. You can throw it and then get your shotgun up and shoot it yourself. You don't even need somebody to help you if you don't want.
That's true.
And that's even more realistic because then you're not just always hitting them right out the gate.
And that would make sense, because if we're talking about training for those sports, of course you're going to want to, in non-competition times, you're going to want to be busting as many clays as you get a chance to do. So,
Like Tony said, he reiterated that when they went hunting a lot, they just went hunting. So that's the thing. It's not like we're talking about a sport. I don't know very many people that come back and go, "Oh, I missed all the birds." Like that just don't happen that much. So it's probably more for the sports where you're going to need to train anyway, because then you're actually worrying about hitting 20 out of 20 or whatever it is instead of 19 or 18 out of 20.
yeah, because you're trying to win or win that money, perhaps, depending on what we're really talking about.
Yeah, and get better.
Yep.
All right, so we've exhausted that one.
I appreciate you being able to bring it up, though, too. Because I know that we don't hardly talk about shotguns very much on the show in general.
Well, like I say, we'll also drag it down and put it into a topic for a future show, and we'll try to bring somebody on who can add to it. Boom, it's in there. So
one last thing, G. For you specifically, you as a dog owner, how does your boy deal with hunting and or the sound of gunfire?
So yeah, I just put puppies out and start having them hang out when we're shooting. Leave them in the car, and then they get used to it, and they don't get scared of it or nothing. And then I don't bring this dog bird hunting ever, so I don't know. He'd probably be fine. But my other dogs, they're used to going with you wherever you go anyway. So it was just I don't think
because one of the guys over there did say train with your dog, and I definitely think that if as a thing that's important, and I like the way that you said do it incrementally to get the dog used to it and stuff.
That's pretty much what we do, is just bring the dogs out and let them sit in the car for the first couple of times shooting, and then you put them in the car most of the time when we're shooting anyway, just so they're stupid and then they'll run down range or something. But when we're hunting, pretty much every dogs we've ever had, they figure out hunting pretty damn quick. Dogs aren't stupid, so they're out there in their thing, and just like every other dog, they don't give a shit when you shoot. They like it. Plus, they're nowhere near you usually when you're shooting. All right, well, so then I guess we'll dig into events eventually. Let's tag into one of the other topics. We're 2 topics in. We're doing pretty good on time today.
Staying the course.
We can go ahead and hit some of the emails that we had come in. Let's see. One from Jared Walsh, and I think it's an interesting concept. He sent in a link that on a video somebody had made. What if Red Dawn had actually occurred? And I'm assuming, and they were successful as far as dividing the country up into one zone was the Chinese, another zone was...
Oh, you added all of that stuff to it. You were telling us about that earlier. I thought that was all part of the question, but now you're saying you're assuming and the Cubans would have successfully divided the country and all that.
Well, okay. Well, let me rewind that back. What if Red Dawn had occurred, period?
All right. Well, I think that's a cool subject, so I'm throwing it in for March 9th.
I'm down.
They're the first place we have an opening for it. And
Jared Walsh, I'll go ahead and throw the link out there to the audience so they can take a peek if they're so inclined. I did watch probably about 4 or 5 minutes of it.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Well, there was an actual video that this guy had that somebody had made on what if Red Dawn had actually happened.
Oh,
but
I didn't
separately
know.
from that, we can also discuss what we think.
Okay. So this is somebody made a YouTube video about what had happened?
Yep. And we don't necessarily need to go into what their version of happened, other than just sharing the information along. But I think it's a very interesting topic, as far as like a three-pronged approach upon the continental United States: East Coast, West Coast, and center.
All right. Well, and I'll put it in with the notes there so that people watch this video as part of the homework for that show.
Yep.
All right. So I got homework.
It's one of the Fortress America scenarios.
What does that mean?
Fortress America scenario is pretty much where the U.S. has gone somewhat isolationist. We no longer give a shit about Europe and their problems. And then basically at some point we do enough to the rest of the world that they get pissed off, and it's pretty much the 3 or 4 prong approach, just like Dana was just talking.
But definitely want to thank Jared for that. Also, we have 1, 2, 3, 5 entries for Wednesday's tactical quiz so far. So you still have till tomorrow to submit your answer to the tactical quiz if you want to be considered.
And you could just listen to yesterday's show on the podcast or on YouTube and listen to the 3 audio clues, and then write an email with the subject line February 1st tactical quiz, and then be in the running for Friday, tomorrow.
Yep.
All right, so why don't we hit the gun shop of the day? One of the things we like to do every single day is mention a gun shop out there to remind people about the cool shops that are out there, and also hopefully inspire people to take the camera out of your pocket, take your phone out of your pocket, ask if it's okay to take a few pictures, and then share what's unique or interesting about the shops that you go to. Today, though, I'm going to talk about BMC Tactical in Albuquerque. They're a cool shop. Met them at SHOT Show. I think we've talked about them recently because of that. But today on Instagram, I unfortunately had to see this. It says that Saturday, the House Bill 50, universal background checks, will be heard in committee at 10 a.m. It's a horrible bill that will add tremendous burden to lawful gun owners, FFLs, and local law enforcement while not doing a single thing to reduce crime. Please join us at the state capitol in opposition to this bill. We will be there early since there will be pro-gun control groups there also. One other thing you can do is call the governor's office. Here's a phone number, 505-476-2200, and ask her to veto HB 50 and the Senate version of SB 48. So this is New Mexico is now under attack from the universal background check bullshit-ery. And looks like this Saturday, BMC Tactical is already starting to organize people to show up at state capitol. I believe that's in Albuquerque, right? Or is it Santa Fe? I don't remember
I'm not sure which is their capital.
Me either. So we have to figure that out. So then, but anyway, BMC is our shop of the day. It's a cool shop on the south end of Albuquerque. And if you're in the area, it's definitely worth taking some time to check it out. They have a lot of cool stuff. They've got plenty of guns and accessories and whatnot, but they also have like metal signs, and they have posters, and they have shirts and patches and stuff that normally you only find online at online stores, but they do a lot of gun shows and stuff. So they have a lot of this inventory that normally you'd see on Instagram or online in person. And that's kind of a treat. You don't really see that stuff in person very much. And they are usually a fixture at the various New Mexico gun shows as well. So a good bunch of people, and obviously they're aware of what's going on and working towards mobilizing their customers and their social media people who follow their stuff about this universal background checks in New Mexico. You definitely don't want to see that happen. New Mexico is one of those states that can be good for guns, but isn't a guarantee. They are
right, because they change their mind from red to blue occasionally.
Quite a bit, yeah. All right, so that's our gun shop of the day. And again, we encourage people to contribute to that part of the show. Going forward, like I say, we're going to do a lot more towards scheduling and getting the show set up ahead of time. So we'll have plenty of opportunities to include people's local shops or shops that they've encountered while they were traveling or something.
AG, as an observation, what's the story with the predominance of the Western United States, whether it was California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada? They tried it for a second in Arizona, and it didn't get any traction. And now New Mexico. Do you hear as much about this background stuff in either the Midwest or Eastern states, or is it because these Western states were some of the few that didn't have any types of these restrictions until these things passed?
That's a great question. I have no idea. So I know that they had universal background checks try to happen in what, Maine or something back east.
I think it was Maine, and they said "F you,"
And I didn't
right?
even on the thing. So we have today.
I think he was going to say today is every second matters because it's the second of the month, and we like to talk about what's going on or the state of our rights as far as firearms are concerned. I know that he'll be back in just a moment. I'm sure he just barely pushed the wrong button for a second there.
Also, I did throw the information for New Mexico on the main page of Gun Channels, including the phone number and the Senate bill number and the House bill number. So in case you don't have time now to do it, go home later on, check out gunchannels.com, and on the main page, you'll see the information with the phone number to call and leave that message. And I think he's back.
Yep.
Probably getting his microphone working.
I don't know when it cut off there, but anyway, on every second matters, I'm thinking we should start getting our resources together and go through each month state by state and see what's going on. So we're aware what states are calm and at peace relatively, and which ones are in need of assistance and which ones are under attack. So I'm going to try.
I like that, and sometimes I do find that as much as we do or we do not, it's a personal decision, a personal choice about the NRA ILA. I do find that they're not always 100% lightning fast, but I do have to admit that they do cover a good portion of the country, so to speak, in that, like when I was talking about the Hawaii thing earlier today, that I also on the same page saw something about New Hampshire and somewhere else. So there are resources that we can utilize to help us when we do our Every Second Matters chat to be aware of some of the stuff going on in the other states as well as nationwide.
And I would certainly encourage those having chats, whether it be lobby chats or topical chats later today, to pass along the information that I literally just put on the main page in regards to New Mexico, the phone number, the bill numbers, etc.
Tony is saying that the state's not like people from out of state calling them. I've had them ask me what district or what my zip code is, so be prepared. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pink is saying the western states have an influx of Californians. I guess that's possibly a thing. At least California in values. It's always cool to be whatever they're doing in California, right?
Yeah.
Well, California has been exporting their Californians for a good almost 20 years, it seems like.
Yeah, it's a culture philosophy sort of a thing, if not the people themselves. But I've heard about that exact situation happening, from Austin, Texas, to Vegas, to some of the other Western larger cities.
Basically, gentlemen and ladies, ever vigilant. That's the deal, yo.
All right, that'll be a good transition into the next segment of the show, which today will be yesterday's history. We missed one. It's not that big a deal. It's just a Marine piece of history, but since I found out about it yesterday, I figured we'd throw it in here. And that is that it was yesterday. Was the 76th anniversary of the 1st and 2nd Marine Divisions. I didn't really know about that, but they posted it on the Marines' Instagram, so I thought it was interesting, worth passing along. The 1st and 2nd fought together for the first time at Guadalcanal, and they both have the Southern Cross on their insignias in respect to that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Even though Heavy had crazy ideas yesterday during his chat.
Well, you leave it to a Marine all by himself, and God knows what he'll come up with.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
He'll break it, though.
Yeah.
All right. And then I guess also in history, in 1964, today, G.I. Joe was launched. I found that when we were setting up the shows. So,
Like the Kung Fu grip with the most awesome camo pattern ever. That GI Joe.
I don't know. The first G.I. Joes were probably like Barbie dolls, right? And then
They
I
were
think
huge, dude.
the second iteration was those like Star Trek size ones that were a little bit bigger than a Star Wars. Figure.
Star Wars.
And then the last version of them were like Star Wars figures, little.
The G.I. Joe I had as a kid was like 12 inches tall.
So did you ever have the $6 Million Man where you see through his face?
Yes. You look through his eyeball.
So that dude was like a Barbie doll. He was huge, right? And then there was the Star Wars figures, which were like, 6 inches long or something. And then the G.I. Joes that I had when I was a kid were in between of those two sides. And that's when the Kung Fu grip and everything happened. And they had stuff. They were like,
just a second. You're misremembering, but that's okay.
no, the ones that weren't as big as the $6 Million Man.
The ones that you're talking were Star Trek size. Those were bigger, yes, but they were smaller than the original GI Joes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So
and then the Star Wars ones are the same size as the GI Joes when we played with probably as a kid.
Oh no, I had the larger ones and those, depending on what time you're talking about when I was a kid.
Right. Well, yeah, but the bigger GI Joes were already old at that time when we were kids. That size.
I had a bunch of them though. Then you could still get them at the stores back when I was a little kid.
Yep. And now, what's the deal?
Or if Dan was talking about the even older, like 1960s GI Joes, which were, I think.
I am talking about the 60s. In fact, the Jeep was actually metal, not plastic.
The Jeep he had a chopper or something, right?
Yeah, I didn't have a chopper. I just had
chopper's probably expensive. But now, if you remember, how did G.I. Joe get away with his hygiene with that beard?
Well, that was later on.
Okay. Oh, and did anybody have the real G.I. Joe guy? And I apologize if I'm going to mispronounce his name. Is it Benavidez? The one where he like really literally was the real American hero and he got a G.I. Joe made of him?
No, I never saw that one.
Yeah, that's a real deal. I think Reagan. No, bigger size.
Oh, okay.
And
I know he was talking about the guy who saved all those people in that firefight in Vietnam.
Yeah, and I think Reagan was the one that recognized him finally.
I didn't know they made a G.I. Joe for him. Though. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
G.I. Joes, I think of them mostly as Marines, though. I'm pretty sure that guy was Green Beret.
Which, yeah, well, and if you extrapolate it to the pseudo-modern 80s G.I. Joe, it was all branches, right?
Well, yeah. I think of those first ones, though. They always, like those original ones from the 60s, seemed like a bunch of Marines. Maybe that's just because mostly Marines were over there in Nam at the time.
Could be.
On the Navy or something.
But when he got the beard is when you knew he was Special Forces.
Modified grooming standards.
Well, yeah, exactly right. Isn't that how that was allowed?
No, you could have a shaving.
He had non-standard camo pattern as well.
You could have a shaving profile or something and then not have to shave.
Right. As well as, if you were out in the field for weeks, you were not necessarily expected to shave until you came back to base.
Yeah, until somebody cared again. Anyway,
I suppose that makes
you guys out there, in t-shirts with no shirts at all. I mean, that's exactly why. It's hotter than hell. It's sweatier than hell.
All right. Well, then they're definitely getting off course. And that was the history segments today. And I think we'll jump into shooting events. So we have a calendar segment or calendar feature over at Gun Channels. And you can post a calendar event or just check them out. They're on the main page when you log in. Kind of scroll down the left side there. And the most recent ones are going to show up here. Z just posted one for that Great American Outdoor Show. It's in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 4th through the 12th. Be there or be square. Supposedly, it is the largest outdoor gun show, or excuse me, the largest outdoor show in the world. I had to make sure that I said it correct because I think the other is something different. And dude, it's like the 4th through the 12th or something. It's like a full week. I can't hardly imagine how crazy it is. And the times for opening and closing, I guessed at, I'll be honest. But the dates are correct.
Well, that's
and
fine.
the place is correct.
Gonna get more specific info when they're traveling or whatever, when they're actually going to attend these events. But
And I did also put the link as well to the event as well.
Right on. So it starts this weekend and it runs for like a week. I didn't put in here yet, but I'm going to put in here a ammunition collectors show up in Prescott. That if I can get this van in time, that'll be the first inaugural trip with the van. And otherwise, I'm hoping to meet up with Bob up there, and we'll be doing that show in Prescott and try to move some of the ammo collection that I've been sorting some of the videos recently. And then that'll be my first time hanging out with all ammo collectors, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. And as everybody may or may not know, I'm selling the AK-47 bayonets so that I can start collecting the 7.62x39 ammo. So this will be my first chance to see what is available to a bunch of collectors, or amongst a bunch of collectors. And there's about a half a dozen of those shows throughout the year. So if everything works well with the band, that'll be one of the things that I'm going to get personal enjoyment out of on the tour this year, is going to those shows. Anyway, that's the first one of those coming up in Prescott, Arizona. So if you're near Vegas or Phoenix, consider checking that out. Prescott's a pretty cool town to visit if you haven't visited anyway, just because there's so many gun shops and stuff there. Let's see, then we got the Big Sandy machine gun shoot coming up in March. We've got the world's largest gun show in Tulsa, Oklahoma, coming up on April 1st. We'll be getting together, Gun Channels people will be getting together there and visiting the museum again, doing some sort of organized shoot. I'm thinking maybe we should bring shotguns and do some kind of shotgun shooting, since everybody's got some newfound shotgun energies from today's show. Then we've got the Knob Creek machine gun shoot happening in Kentucky in April as well. And then at the end of April, we've got the NRA show coming up in Atlanta. And again, I think a bunch of people from Gun Channels are planning to show up and hang out at that. So this is becoming more than just shooting events, but also when the next Gun Channels meetups are. But that's part of the thing, part of the way that the show is going to develop, I guess, and part of the way Gun Channels is developing. So we're looking forward to seeing more of these events that people can get together at and hang out and bring stories and pictures and everything back to the chats and keep the conversation going.
All right.
I guess I should also mention, though, today is the 2nd, so hold on. Today's the 2nd, so I don't know how much of it got cut off before, but we will be doing an Every Second Matters pretty much directly after this show. And although I probably won't run it for 6 hours, we'll run it for a while, because I do want to go through the Every Second Matters website, make sure that we have as many organizations as possible in there and that they're tidy, and then start a new campaign or a new project over there where we're going to make sure that we've got every state represented, and then perhaps go through each state, see if there's anything pending or imminent, make sure that it's posted there, and then depending on time and people's ambition and energy level, potentially go through some of the main agendas or main campaigns, like the Hearing Protection Act and the lawful use redefinition, some of the other things like repeal the NFA, some of the White House petitions, and make sure that they're all listed there, so that, again, the everysecondmatters.com website becomes the resource that it's supposed to be, where when people have a question in whatever conversation they're having, they know they can go to Every Second Matters and get the most current, or at least a link to the most current information about whatever the topic might be on the 2nd.
All right. Anything else?
Sorry to infringe the part with my amendment stuff.
No problem. All right. It's time for the tactical pop quiz of the day. Let me go ahead and tab on over here. See what we got going. All right. Today, I find this kind of an interesting question. So if you're on YouTube, as well as Gun Channels, make sure your cursor is down in the text box so you can type that answer out. But you're going to want to think about it, because words matter in this answer. Now, Z, do you see the answer?
Yeah.
I'll give it as long as somebody basically is pretty darn well close to it. I'm willing to bend and flex. But
I'm not willing to have Dano bend or flex. So I think we might have a draw here.
As long as it's not on camera.
Yep. All right. Yeah. And speaking of that, don't ever ask Mr. Quark 71 to step out in the snow, because you never know what's going to happen.
Don't dare him to.
Don't dare him.
Do not dare him to do anything.
Yeah, because that's Channel 4 right there. Mr. Quark and going outside in the winter.
Okay,
but anyway, the question of the day is,
and there's memories that should never be talked about again.
Well, and what's your store number? Okay, the question, I'm really getting off track. The question is, in the TV show Sledgehammer, what is Detective Sledgehammer's signature phrase? What is Detective Sledgehammer's signature phrase?
Do you feel lucky, punk? Do you?
No.
There you go. We got no answers on either side. They might be so young that they don't even know that there was a TV show called Sledgehammer.
Yep.
It was kind of a ripoff of Hunter.
Mr. Connery, I think.
No, I'm gonna go with Callanan on the other side.
Oh, okay.
But let me double check here.
Yep.
Man, I think it probably is Mr. Connery, actually. Because then it was Sean on the YouTube side was probably just moments after.
Well, I'm going to tell Sean, good shot. It was darn close. But my official has told me that it is Mr. Connery. So I'm going to congratulate Mr. Connery. You are today's Tactical Pop Quiz winner. Congratulations. And as always, thank you.
He says it right here, right?
Yep.
Ready?
And
trust me, I know what I'm doing.
And head on over to dailygunshow.com/pop quiz. Fill out the form. Fill out your first, second, and third choice.
Who won it?
Congratulations, Mr. Connery.
Sean Connery. That makes you the Tactical Pop Quiz hot shot for today. So good job. Way to make it happen.
And probably should repeat the answer just in case somebody didn't hear it. It is, trust me, I know what I'm doing.
So we've got a patch panel full of prizes over at our website, dailygunshow.com. And when somebody wins, we send them over to take a look at the patch panel. There's a bunch of patches that we either create here in Tucson ourselves or that we have made for us on our designs. Some of them are donated. Some of them we buy, like the one Tony grabbed yesterday, this priority snail mail one. It's from our friend Jason, who actually posted a new one today we should talk about over on the Trading Post. But anyhow, we have the patch panel there. When you pick one, when you're a winner, you pick one that you want, and there's a form down here you can fill out to let us know where to send it. So thanks,
one,
everybody.
As well as a backup.
Yeah, we haven't actually. You can keep saying that for sure because we want people to do that. Just an FYI, though, we've sent out way over 200 at this point, and we've never had to. I think we've gone to second choice like once or twice. We almost never have to go to second choice. So there's enough on a variety up there, and so that's again a way that we can say thanks to people that watch the show live, and every once in a while, like we did on Wednesday. We do this in a way that people can participate who listen via podcast. So we played 3 audio clues yesterday for the weekly tactical quiz. Anybody that wants to can still go back and listen to yesterday's show towards the end, I guess, and listen to those 3 clues. Address an email to us at dailygunshow@gmail.com with February 1st tactical quiz in the subject line, and we will put you in the running for the winner tomorrow.
Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, hear the lamentation of the women.
So speaking of patches, our friend Jason has dabbled in patch design for a while now. He's done a couple of them, like I mentioned. The one that Tony grabbed yesterday, the priority snail mail, is one of his. And let's get rid of that and go back to where the heck it is. And he did this cool one. He's calling it the Treadmore. So it's the Don't Tread on Me Gadsden deal up on the sky behind Mount Rushmore. And I thought that was pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen a Mount Rushmore patch before, but it does work out pretty good. So you can grab these if you'd like, and he does have them for sale for just $7 plus $3 shipping. It's a hell of a deal. He's definitely not doing it to make a fortune. He just likes to get some patches out there that are cool. So if you're down for morale patches, check out the Trading Post.
Oh, okay. So these are on the Trading Post on gunchannels.com.
Yep, right on the main page, or just head into the Trading Post. It's the first one in the list right now.
Excellent. All right, we want to head to the gun movie.
Let's talk about the quiz real quick, though. Sledgehammer was like a comedy from back in the day, and Sean is telling us that the episodes are on YouTube. So if somebody's interested in watching some fairly lighthearted, I don't know if it holds up. I haven't watched it in a long, long time, but I do remember watching the show back in the day, and I don't think it was one that I would avoid, I would rush home for, but if it was on and I was around, I would watch it. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. Comedy is one of those things that rarely holds the test of time. Like if you look at, Bob Hope from 60 years ago, and you see people laughing, and you listen to it, even back in the 70s, I remember listening to it and thinking, why do they think this guy's funny? He doesn't seem funny to me at all.
Well,
it's one of those, it's very.
You may not have a sense of humor.
No, the jokes are probably all about the 80s and weird shit about Reagan or something that we.
Yes.
Right. But it's time contextual is a lot of humor.
But I don't know if people were watching when I was sharing the screen there on the intro to that show, but it's all about that Smith that he carried, that revolver. So it's all close-ups of that 44 Magnum.
Yep.
Okay, so now we can dig into, we're going to do movie of the day.
Never heard of it.
Come on. So we're trying to hit a movie every day that maybe you haven't seen in a while, if you're an old folk, or if you're a youngin', a movie you haven't seen yet. And talking about the TV show this time called MacGyver. Specifically, though, season 6, episode 2, I believe, called The Gun.
Never seen it.
Yeah, whatever. Best episode of MacGyver, hands down, ever, because he goes into an AK-47 factory. And
He's Canadian.
Supposed to be in California, but we've tracked it down when I went to the tour of California Ring of Fire things. I had planned on seeing this factory where freaking MacGyver season 6 episode 2 The Gun was filmed. So it's been driving me nuts what the hell AK factory that is, because I doubt that the company went out and bought as many AKs as were in those scenes. So I really figured it was some AK factory, or at least an importer or something that was taking them out of boxes and putting them on racks for some reason. But when we did the research, it turns out that stupid factory is in Canada. So I have no idea who it is. Maybe it's some Canadian importer.
He told you Canada.
Huh?
See, told you Canada.
Yeah.
Canada.
Well, so anyway, it is worth watching. You can watch it pretty easily. Probably on YouTube or something by now, but it was on Netflix for the longest time when I had Netflix. It's in the mix of MacGyver episodes that are available whenever they have MacGyver, for viewing. And it's a boring one. It's kind of an anti-gun one, amazingly, but it is neat because he goes into an AK-47 factory.
It is season 6, episode 3. It is available on Amazon Prime. Short synopsis: when a cop is shot, gun is used to assassinate a presidential candidate years ago is found, leading investigators to accuse MacGyver's friend from the youth center of the crime.
Yeah, it's like the worst 80s junkies who are out in the street being junkies next to this chain link fence, and the one kid comes up and he trades this gun for drugs, and then the druggies trade them, and then they kill people with the gun and hide it, and it turns out the gun is possessed and evil, and it started World War I or something. But he goes into an AK factory. He pushes around everybody in the AK factory. MacGyver, it's pretty good. It's definitely one of the ones where MacGyver's like the big brother for everybody in the neighborhood by season 6. So he's hardly MacGyver anymore. I think the MacGyver tricks in it is that he like drops the whole thing of AKs on a car or something. Like a whole shipping container of AKs gets dropped on a car. All right, well, this one's laying flat, so I guess.
Well, you giving it a thumbs up, thumbs down, must watch? Where are you at?
Oh, it's a must watch. If you haven't seen MacGyver, there's something wrong with you. And this is definitely the best episode of MacGyver. I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up for Bob, too, since I get to proxy his thumb.
Well, then I'm going to make it officially, as if no one didn't know, there is clearly something wrong with me because I have not seen MacGyver.
Wait, you've never seen MacGyver?
No, I've seen parts of MacGyver. Just didn't seem interesting.
Yeah, I'm also giving it 2 thumbs down because I hated MacGyver pretty much. Hated the show. Pick up a gun, dude. Sorry.
Now, at the time,
it was like the A-Team without guns. So, and he was Canadian with that stupid mullet. So
now the reason I didn't watch it was simply because it seemed too over the top as far as pulling miracle after miracle of ridiculous things. Too unbelievable, too ridiculous.
Well, that I don't mind. Like, I have watched MacGyver, and I do like some of the episodes. I'm just saying, when he almost gets killed by like the chick from Lois and Clark or whatever a couple of different times, I'm just like, eh. So he just wasn't my favorite hero. I never, like I said, never really got into MacGyver that much. So that may be a shortcoming of my character, perhaps.
I mean, in some ways, they were almost trying to do like an American version of 007. You know, the guy that can get out of anything.
Except he wasn't American, dude.
Well, but it was on American TV.
That it was.
Interesting. I think we definitely need to readdress this MacGyver. It seems to be a controversial subject. So
you can bring up MacGyver all you want, and unless we're talking about the hot chicks that were on the show, I don't know. You're probably not going to get me to sway my vote so much.
Well, I'm putting MacGyver in as a good idea, bad idea.
And perfect.
I'm going to put it in as an entertainment MacGyver versus James Bond or something like that.
Now, Arts and Tony over on YouTube says Rat Patrol was better. Now, that was black and white, if I remember correctly, and I watched that show, and I love Rat Patrol.
Rat Patrol, wasn't that like a World War II show?
I was going to say, that was like 20 or 30 years earlier than, excuse me, I shouldn't say 30, but I believe it was 10 to 20 years earlier than, no, it had to be 20 years because it was black and white.
Yes.
To start with.
And I'm saying, and shows were already in color by then. So as a kid, for me to be attracted to a black and white thing instead of a color thing really said something about the quality of the show. But,
yeah, well, on that tip, Twilight Zone was in black and white when there was color too, and Twilight Zone was awesome.
Rat Patrol.
All right, well, so that's the whole point of the gun movie today, though, is to get people talking about it. So that spurred at least a couple other discussions we'll have on future episodes of the show. Let's see. So you're pretty much, we're losing Z here in a minute?
Probably.
Okay, so trying to see what else. We did the gun shop already. We did the history. We did a bunch of histories today. We'll throw a healthy tip in there real quick. I'm standing at my computer right now. That was one of the things whenever I decided to start being healthy. I took a tip from one of the other guys on the gun websites team whose wife insists on having their computer up at like on the counter, like kitchen counter height or maybe even higher. So they have to stand at their computer, and it always bugged me. But as soon as I made that switch so I'm not sitting in a comfortable chair to work on the computer, it's much more conducive to just moving around, getting other things done, and not just planting myself here. So that's the healthy tip today. Consider putting your computer someplace higher, someplace where you stand at it instead of sit at it, and it becomes less of a drain on you, and it becomes more of a resource for you. And the idea is to remind everybody that the most important part is part that pulls the trigger. We talked about training for shotgun sports before. I think it all gets down to if you can't get your gun where it needs to be, then what's the point? then you're just support for somebody else. So consider getting
True
yourself
words.
dragging that stuff around easily.
And on that note, let's go ahead and fire straight into gun channels today. I do want to ask, being that today is the 2nd and we have Every Second Matters, I'm assuming, but I want to ask, the AK-47 Guru is going to be postponed for this week.
No, that's an assumption that would be incorrect. They're going to do that every Thursday as well.
All right. And this is a non-Yankee week, if I remember correctly.
Yep, that's why there's so much celebration in the streets and there's not very much rioting going on. People are generally in good mood and things are happy out there.
All right. So we have, as mentioned, Every Second Matters going to be happening. We have Gun News Weekly. We have AK-47 Guru. We also, of course, in the morning, hopefully we'll have Early Watch, and hopefully Jimmy James will be back in time for that. That's 9 Eastern in the morning, 6 Pacific. And, of course, the Daily Gun Show, which next week will be starting at 7 Eastern in the evening, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific. And that is Gun Channels today.
Sounds good. With that, I think we're about wrapped up. We've hit the end of our agenda for episode 239. We'll be back same time tomorrow for the last time at this time slot for a while. Probably maybe forever. See how everybody likes the new time slot. But there's somebody playing Dano or somebody playing Bob at the end here.
You know, you ask that every time I'm here. Yes, I'm always playing Bob whenever Bob is not here.
That's just a transition. So,
all right. We always like to end the show with a quote, and today I have one from David Luffer, and the quote is as follows: "It is a lesson of history that is ethically, morally, and philosophically impossible to have too many personal weapons, whether they are edged, impact, or projectile." And on that note, I want to thank you all for listening, and please be prepared.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.
It's 11:59.